All right, let the word go forth. The Senate is back in business. Secretary will read Senate Bill 320.
Senate Bill 320 by Senator Harbison the 15th and others. A bill to be entitled Act in Chapter 1 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general court provisions so as to create Veterans Court divisions and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil recommends this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Stone, the 23rd District Chairman. Judiciary Non-Civil Committee offers the following substitute to SB 320. An act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to general court provisions so as to create a Veterans Court division and for other purposes. That completes your order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from Columbus, the senator on the 15th, chair of the Veterans Committee. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. I rise to present to you Senate Bill 320 today. Senate Bill 320 is something that we worked on. It came as a result of some long meetings with the Returning Veterans Task Force Committee, chaired by a lot of distinguished people. You may see on your desk a handout for myself, which included all of the people who were involved in this formulation of this particular piece of legislation that was ultimately substituted in the form that you see it today. You had people from all walks, assistant veteran courts, and various, the Governor's Office of Workforce Development, Veterans Program Liaison, judges, and just a lot of people involved in it from around the state who would have a significant impact on it, and more importantly, who would have intimate information about how it should go about. Senate Bill 320 provides enabling legislation for veteran court divisions. It creates a new section to provide statutory authority to veteran court divisions in any court that has jurisdiction over criminal cases. The bill was originally filed mirrored the Drug Court Official Code of Georgia annotated 15-115 and mental health court statutes, which include enhanced provisions for evidence-based standards. However, working with the Judicial Council, we've scaled the bill back to a first step enabling legislation. That's what is before us today. And there's not a national evidence-based body of research yet on veterans treatment courts. And that's why we brought forth this information and this particular bill in this style. Starting with enabling legislation for veteran courts this year, will provide explicit statutory authority to these divisions, which was the original intent anyway, while allowing time for the development and validation and certification of national-based evidence and best practices tools and processes for serving this particular population of veterans who have served our country and deserve our support. I would like to thank the senator from the 23rd, the members of that committee who processed this information, but we brought the bill before him, they vetted it, and we're appreciative of that they passed it on to us. Also, I would like to thank all of the people out there who met over the months in 2013 to formulate this particular bill, including members of the House who put it together and provided the conduit for us to bring forth in its current form. Earlier, I was asked about a fiscal note that would be not be applicable at this particular time because this is enabling legislation. Mr. President, if there are questions, I will answer them. If not, I will yield the well.
Chair recognizes Senator on the 56th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
Senator, isn't it true that your bill will surely help our returning veterans and those coping with post-traumatic stress disorder in order to get them through the system, get them the help that they need, and give them back all that they've given to us as serving us in the military?
The answer is yes, Senator, and we thank you for that question. As you and I both know, I think and we think that they deserve this attention. A lot of situations occur when veterans go to combat like that. The man does not come back with them in whole, as it were. And this will hopefully provide an awareness that we can help them when they come in contact with the law in a negative way.
No further questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you so
Questions
much.
on the adoption of committee substitute. Is there objection? There is objection. The lady in red in the back. No, she withdraws. Okay. There is no objection. I mean, it's not often I get to, have fun with the media. I have the mic. She doesn't. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed to Port Committee which favor pass the bill? Chair is none. Port Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question is on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 52 and the nays are 0. And this bill, IMC Rex Constitutional Majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read SR 415.
Senate Resolution 415 by Senator Schaefer, the 48th, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to prohibit raising the rate of state income taxes currently in effect to provide for submission of this amendment for ratification or rejection and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Finance recommends this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hill, the 32nd District Chairman. That completes your order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the President Pro Tem of the Senate. Senator from the 48th, present the resolution.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Senate Resolution 415 is an amendment to our state constitution that limits the state income tax. Although low in comparison to the federal government, Georgia's rate of income taxation is the highest in the southeastern United States. Two of our neighbors do not tax earned income at all, and North Carolina recently lowered its income tax to 5.75%, so they can claim to be a quarter of a point lower than us. I believe that our rate of income taxation puts us at a competitive disadvantage in attracting businesses and creating jobs, and if it were up to me, I would reduce it. I would move us away from taxing productivity toward taxing consumption, and I'd find a way to phase the income tax out of existence for individuals and the pass-through entities that make up a majority of our small businesses and farms. This constitutional amendment doesn't do that, but it points us in that direction. It makes clear that our income tax rate is not going up. It helps increase our competitiveness by pointing out to businesses making expansion decisions that while other states could increase their rates tomorrow, our rates are constitutionally capped. If you want a Georgia where the government is lean and efficient, where productivity is encouraged and business expansion is invited, I urge you to join me in voting for Senate Resolution 415. If there are no questions, I will yield the well.
You do have questions. Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th for a question.
Thanks, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, I heard you say, I think I heard you say that our neighbors have lowered theirs to where?
I'm sorry, your question was
what did our neighbors lower theirs to?
Well, Tennessee and Florida have a 0%.
Right, I heard that.
North Carolina lowered its maximum rate to 5.75%, which is a quarter point lower than our current 6% rate.
Senator, will you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consider lowering it to 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1?
I would like to see it lowered to, I would like to see it phased out of existence over time if we can replace the revenue that would be lost. What the proposition before us today simply caps it. It says that the General Assembly doesn't have any authority to raise it over the current level.
Thank you, Senator. Will the Senator continue to yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Senator, if you'd like to see that, was it any reason why you did not add that language to this piece of legislation?
I'm a believer in incrementalism. You've got to move in the direction a little bit each and every day, and this moves us. This caps the rate, makes sure it can't go up, and points us in the direction of lowering it. And it sounds to me like you might be willing to join me in trying to lower it in years ahead.
Thank you, Senator. Will you continue to yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Having said that, what does it do to future Senates when maybe you and I are not here?
It would prevent them from raising the income tax.
Thank you, Senator.
Chair recognizes Senator from 42nd.
Senator Yield,
Yes, sir.
am I correct that the state of Georgia today has a lower tax burden or collects fewer taxes than any of the states that are surrounding us?
I suppose it would depend on how you calculate that burden, but I know that we have a relatively low tax burden, yes.
But we in fact, is it not true, for the Senate further yield,
Yes,
is it not true that the state of Georgia collects fewer taxes than any other state but one or two overall as a state government?
by fewer taxes, are you talking about the
Revenues,
that our revenue is lower than every state except one or two?
tax revenue, yes.
I think on a per capita basis, I think that's correct, yes.
So on a per capita basis, assuming it's low, there's a lot of ways that folks hide taxes rather than just the income tax, isn't that right?
That's correct.
So the states, will the Senator further yield?
Yes, sir.
So the states that have no income tax like Florida, they take it out of folks' hides other ways. Is that fair?
I know that Florida has a higher sales tax that's more broadly applied. I don't know about Tennessee. I think their sales tax rate is higher. That's correct.
Will the Senator yield for a final question?
Certainly.
Do you believe right now that Georgia is the #1 place to do business?
I believe it is the #1 place to do business, and I think that this will help keep us in the #1 position and in years to come. I don't think we can ever settle for whatever we've achieved. I don't think we can ever settle for that. I think we've got to constantly strive to do even better.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 13th.
Well, Senator Yield,
Yes, sir.
do you have an estimate of how much 1% statewide would raise per year?
You know, I should know that, but I don't know it well enough to venture an answer here. Although this amendment wouldn't affect the revenues of the state because it would simply prevent us from raising what we're currently collecting.
Well, the Senator Yield for one further question. When
Yes,
you
sir.
talk about a consumption tax, now what exactly do you mean? Is that a sales tax?
Well, and I didn't mean to confuse anyone that's voting on this particular measure, but yes, a sales or an excise tax would be a tax on consumption. That's something I would like to see us do, but this measure does not do this. This measure simply caps the income tax at its current rate, prevents us from raising it any higher, but certainly doesn't prevent us from lowering it in the future if we were to decide to do that.
And wouldn't the 1% tax affect everyone?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
No further questions, Senator. Chair recognizes the Senator from the 41st.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I rise to oppose this bill or this resolution. First of all, we know that the net effect at this time is that this does not affect taxes or revenues of the state. That 6% is the top rate. It has been since around 1980, and there is no immediate plan to change that to go to a higher rate. So why are we doing it? We're doing it, as we do so many things in an election year, to make a claim or make a boast that we've done something. But what we're really only doing is lessening the options of what we can do in the future when we try to look at the entire tax code. a tax code that has not been revised since 1937. Why should we restrict our options? Well, some would say, well, I think we need to restrict it so we don't raise income taxes on people. Listen, it's an option. And there are a lot of different ways we can deal with each and every tax plan we do. We saw 3 years ago that we attempted to cut the state income tax rate to like 4.5%. But we were going to do it by changing the deduction structure of how we did deductions. We were actually going to raise taxes on 70% of the people making less than $140,000 a year, and the legislature finally said, no, that's not the right thing to do. We're not addressing those complexities with this amendment. What we're doing is restricting us from looking at what we might want to do at some time in the distant future. We might want to raise it to 7% in 2060 so that we can lower taxes to 80% of Georgians, lower the lower rates below 5 and below 6% to 5 and 4 and 3%. We should have that option. We talk about sales tax, and we're not going to, I think, really need to get into the whole regressive, progressive tax theory here. What we really need to do is know that as legislators and as government, we need to have different tools and different options available. And voting for that restricts us. And the only reason we're doing it is so we can have a campaign tool during the election. I say a campaign tool during the election isn't as important as having the tools to run government well when we look at things in a comprehensive way. And we have not addressed the comprehensive troubles with our tax code. We have not been able to find solutions to things that all of us know is not the best way for Georgia to move forward. So, as it was stated by the Senator from 42nd, we are second in per capita tax revenue collections in the country. It's not a pressing problem. This bill doesn't help or change that. It just is bad public policy. Urge you to vote no. Thank you.
You have a question? Would you like to? Yeah. Chair recognizes Senator from 48.
For a question?
I certainly do.
Will the senator accept my sincere congratulations for his very honest admission that you oppose this legislation because you want the freedom to raise income taxes?
I will tell you this, Senator. I want the ability to lower taxes to many Georgians possibly, or possibly doing nothing. Your statement is not correct. I do not want to raise income taxes. I am not proposing a raise of income taxes. I am proposing that we allow future legislators to make decisions and have a broad scope of tools to address those issues. Thank you. Any further questions?
Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from 35th. Speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, believe it or not, I agree with the majority that the current tax structure is broken. And Mr. President, I agree that we need tax reform in the state of Georgia. However, SR 415 does nothing to fix our broken structure and instead places an old and antiquated system into the state's highest governing document. If approved, this resolution would also set us down a path of not being able to meet the needs of our most vulnerable citizens and could threaten a cherished standing that we have among the states. Mr. President, did you know that in 1937, Howard Hughes set the record for flying from New York to Los Angeles in 7.5 hours, or that President Franklin was sworn in for his second of 4 terms, or that was the year that the Civilian Conservation Corps was created, and that Abraham Lincoln sculpture on Mount Rushmore was dedicated? But more importantly, did you know that in that same year, 1937, was the first time we updated the tax income range for brackets up to 6% for the state's income tax. So, Mr. President, we cannot continue to expect to meet the needs of our growing population of bright students, brave veterans, hardworking citizens, and active seniors in this relatively new 21st century with a tax code that's built in the early part of the 20th century. So let us work to create a structure that first meets the needs of our growing state, and secondly, respects those citizen investors by making sure that agencies operate effectively and efficiently. Lastly, Mr. President, we as a state must always be looking to our future for opportunities to grow and to maintain our position as the economic engine of the Southeast. We've been able to do this in the past by making long-term strategic investments in basic and higher education, roads, bridges, public transportation, our ports, our workforce, etc. A helpful tool in all of this has been our state's AAA bond rating, with all three credit rating agencies, AAA. But this resolution would place this coveted rating and our ability to invest over the long term in jeopardy. In fact, all three of the rating agencies, in their rating methodology, that they favor a state with flexibility to set modifying tax rates without significant restraints like constitutional prohibitions on tax increases, and that's where we would be. So in closing, Mr. President, I, and I hope others, will not support this resolution because it will severely hamper our ability to meet the needs of our growing state and would hamper the ability of future members of this body. We must always remember that the decisions that we make here today affect not just us and our districts, but future Georgians and generations to come, and the state as a whole. So with that, Mr. President, I ask all senators to really look at this bill before you vote. I hope you'll reconsider if you've already decided to vote for it. And, Mr. President, I yield the will. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the resolution? Is there objection? Agree in the report of committee which fail pass the bill. Chair is none. The report of committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put, or are there any objections? Chair is none. The main question is ordered. Shall this resolution now pass? Question on the passage of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the adoption of the constitutional amendment, SR 415, the yeas are 42 and the nays are 11. And The income tax for the state of Georgia has now been abolished. Just kidding. The resolution's been adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 324.
Senate Bill 324 by Senator Stone of the 23rd and others. A bill to entitle an act to amend code sections 3582, 45981, 45901, and 494A8 of the OCGA relating to definitions for employing and training for peace officers, definition for the Georgia State Indemnification Fund, definitions for the Temporary Disability Compensation Program, and the commitment of delinquent children, respectively, so as to harmonize definitions relating to peace officers employed, appointed by the Department of Juvenile Justice regarding their duties. And for the purposes, the Senate Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil recommends this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Stone of the 23rd District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator of the 23rd to speak to the bill. Present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President, Senators. SB 324 is an outgrowth of our juvenile justice reform bill from last year. We are having more need for intensive probation supervision for the juvenile delinquents who had been in institutions but are now in the community. This will allow Department of Juvenile Justice to train a growing number of probation workers as post-certified peace officers. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agree in the Porter Committee which fail to pass the bill. Chair is none. Porter Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Or are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0, and this bill, having Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read Senate Bill 339.
Senate Bill 339 by Senator Stone of the 23rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article Title 47 of the OCGA relating to retirement and pension so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions in said title and furtherance of the work of the Code Revision Commission and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Retirement recommends this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th District, Vice Chairman. That completes your order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator 23rd again to present the bill.
Mr. President, Senators, this is simply the second code revision bill, the second and final one for this session, and it deals strictly with the retirement sections of the Code of Georgia. If there are no further questions, I'll yield the well.
Very good. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed to Porter Committee which fail to pass the bill. Chair is none. Porter Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put, or are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question order. Shall this bill now pass? Questions on the pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary lock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having C-Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read Senate Bill 352.
Senate Bill 352 by Senator Unterman of the 45th and others. A bill to be entitled Act Title 31 of the OCGA relating to health so as to create the Georgia Council on Lupus Education and Awareness and for the purposes. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommend this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted to Senator Unterman, the 45th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes distinguished Health and Human Services Committee Chairwoman, the lovely senator from the 45th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 352 creates the Georgia Council on Lupus Education and Awareness. As we talked about last week when we had the folks here with lupus, there's about 55,000 Georgians who unfortunately have this disease. And as you know, it's a long-term, lifelong disease process that is very painful. It's an autoimmune disease where your body actually attacks itself and the muscles and tissues and then eventually the organs. It's a very, very painful disease and also a very costly disease. With that, Mr. President, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
No further questions.
Thank you very much. I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection agreed in the Report of Committee which fail to pass the bill? Chairs none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 41, the nays are 2. And this bill, having C-Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 356.
Senate Bill 356 by Senator Tippins of the 37th and others. A bill to be entitled Act Amendment Code Section 143 of the OCGA relating to American History Month so as to declare September of each year to be Georgians of Great Character Month and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Tippins, the 37th District Chairman. That completes your order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the distinguished chair of the Education Committee, the gentleman from Cobb County, bird dog connoisseur, senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I bring you a bill today that, like its maker, is very simple. This bill deals, in the stated in line 8 and 9, says the month of September of each year is designated as Georgians of Great Character Month to encourage the recognition of outstanding persons in Georgia history. I want to bring to your attention that this bill is not about those persons who were great characters, but they were people who had great character. There's very much a difference and distinction in that. This bill combines two traits of successful public education, and that is character education and Georgia history. This recognizes those individuals who've made significant contributions to Georgia history and making it what it is because of their exemplary personal character traits. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection agreed in the Report of Committee which fail to pass the bill? Chairs none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chairs none. Main question order. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary unlock the machine. On the pass of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Secretary will read Senate Bill 367.
Senate Bill 367 by Senator Hill VI, a bill to be entitled Amendment Code Section 5884 of the OCGA relating to the composition and membership of metropolitan area planning and development commissions and redistricting of areas removed from a jurisdiction of existing commission so as to change the eligibility to be a member of a commission and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations recommends this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Liggett, of the 3rd District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 6th, where did he go? Is he celebrating that big win a moment ago? Chair recognizes Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is for basically what happened was there was a challenge with the Atlanta City Council. They wanted to nominate their president to be on the ARC board, and there was a small infraction in the code which excluded the president of the city council from sitting on the board because they didn't consider him a member of the legislative body. So this merely fixes that and ensures that if they want to vote in their presiding officer to be on the ARC board, then they can do that. If there are no questions, I will yield the well.
Any? Senator from the 6th, you have a question. Senator from the 19th, recognized.
Well, Senator Yield.
I will.
Senator, I'm from the 19th District, and I'm not sure I know what ARC stands for.
Is
that like Noah's Ark, the new movie out?
This is the Atlanta Regional Commission. So this is for regional commissions. This will be clear now.
Senator from the 43rd, you have a question? Recognized.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
No. Oh, on this? Regarding this?
No.
No, okay. I'll get you a little bit later. All right, no further questions, Senator. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection? Agreed. The Report of Committee which favor pass the bill. Chair is none. Report of Committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. Main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question on the pass the bill. All those in favor of the bill vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine. Chair recognizes Senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Do you believe the senator from the 33rd would like us to read Senate Rule 8-1.1 again for the senator from the 6th this time?
Yeah, Senator from the 33rd. Hope you informed him about the rule that he was unaware of. A lot of folks that are new, it takes them a while to be trained. Even though he showed off in front of his mama earlier today. Fresh haircut. I mean, he put on his best today. Got him a cream-colored shirt on just to change it up. On the pass the bill, the ayes are 48 and the nays are 2, and this bill, MC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Last resolution of the day, SR 828. Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 828 by Senator Hunter from the 45th, a resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Emergency Relocation of Abused Adults and for their purposes. The Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Hunter from the 45th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 45th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, Senate Resolution 828 is a joint study committee on the relocation of abused adults These are at-risk adults, and this study committee will be addressing their needs, best practices, and consistency across the state of Georgia. I'll answer any questions. If there's no further questions, I yield the way. I ask for your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is there objection to agree in the report of committee which fail passes the resolution? Chair is none. Resolution is adopted. All those in favor of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the resolution, the yeas are 50, the nays are 1, and this resolution has received requisite constitutional majority is therefore adopted. Chair recognizes Senator in the 43rd for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to suspend the rules for first reading for Senate Bill 415.
Is there objection? Without objection, we will suspend the rules so it can be read. The Secretary will read Senate Bill 415.
Senate Bill 415 by Senator Ramsey, the 43rd, and others. A bill to be entitled an act amending Article 6 of Chapter 2, the Title 20 of the Quality of the OCGA relating to the Quality Basic Education Act so as to provide for deferments on certain assessments for limited English proficient students under certain conditions, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair will assign the bill to Education and Youth. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand adjourned until 1 p.m. Tuesday, February 25th.
1 p.m. tomorrow. Committee work will be getting accomplished in the morning, so Secretary will read the resolution, or excuse me, the announcements.
Rules will be meeting upon adjournment in 450 cap. State and local government operations 145 310 CLOB. Higher education 2 p.m. 125 cap. Judiciary non-civil 2 p.m. MES. Judiciary 3 p.m. 307 CLOB. Regulated industries and utilities 3 p.m. 310 CLOB. Health and Human Services 4 p.m. 450 cap. Transportation 4 o'clock in the MES. Science and Technology 5 o'clock 307 CLOB. For Tuesday, February 25th, Education and we're supposed to read. Yep. Education and Youth 9 a.m. 307 CLOB. Insurance and Labor 9 a.m. 125 cap. Public Safety has been canceled. Banking and Financial Institutions canceled. Natural Resources and the Environment 10 a.m. 450 cap. Appropriations has been canceled. Ethics 11 a.m. 125 cap. Retirement 11 a.m. 307 CLOB. Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security 11:30 a.m. 450 cap. And the Senate will convene at 1 p.m. in the chamber. That completes your order, Mr. President.
Are there any other announcements? Any other announcements? The Majority Leader has moved. We stand adjourned until 1 p.m. tomorrow morning. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. Ooh. The ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.